Welcome back to the Race for the Cure. Amy Boland has long been a supporter of Komen's mission, but never did she imagine that she would be at the center of the fight.
No, she was diagnosed with breast cancer several months ago and has decided to share her story with us and you. Never before have we taken you through the entire process from diagnosis to recovery. Dana Tyler has been following her for months and brings us her incredible and emotional story.
She's running for her life in a year that dares to shatter her world. But Amy Boland won't have it. The confident Hollis, Queens native worked at CBS 2 nearly 20 years ago before becoming a reporter in Arizona. Amy and her husband Mark, a video editor at CBS 2, have 2 children. She's now a journalism teacher and on May 14th wrote a shocker on her school blog.
The next 6 months will be an unknown journey for me and my family because on May 2nd, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
The dimple she'd seen in her left breast was stage 2 cancer. On May 31st, Amy started that unknown journey. Surgery for a double mastectomy and reconstruction took 12 hours. Adamant to share her most private moments, Amy is honest about why at age 43 she'd never had a mammogram.
Fear, number one. I was supposed to go at 40 and I chickened out, and I think that's why I wanted this story to be told, because I am the typical person. I'm honest about my fear. I didn't want to know that I had breast cancer.
How's it going?
Well, thank you.
On June 10th, upbeat but sore and tired of the cumbersome post-surgical drains, Amy meets with her Mount Sinai plastic surgeon, Dr. Jess Ting.
So that all looks fine. So let's go ahead and take out the drains.
No implants, her new breasts come from a tummy tuck.
We took the skin and the fat from your tummy along with a blood vessel and without any muscle. And we reconnected the blood vessels in the breast. And we used that tissue from your stomach to make a breast.
Finding out she could have breasts naturally gave her a fresh outlook.
I feel relieved. I feel my future has brightness as opposed to this dim, dark tunnel.
What I do in particular, it lets me take something negative and turn it into something positive. We're going to get you through the cancer, and then my job is to restore your body and restore your self-image.
Well, for her it was a gain where everything else was a loss up until that point.
Cancer brings a seesaw of emotions. An hour later, Amy learns if she'll need chemotherapy.
Hi, how are you? Have a seat.
Dr. Rachel Wellner, surgical oncologist, removed Amy's breast tissue and 17 lymph nodes, as well as the early stage tumor, 2.3 centimeters in size. The pathology results?
We found a little bit of cancer in your lymph nodes as well. Okay, a little bit, just a couple of cells.
Okay.
All right. I think given the size of the tumor and the fact that the nodes contain cancer as well, you're going to be a candidate for chemotherapy.
Okay.
A lot to take in.
Eyebrow loss and eyelashes, do you know?
It can happen, but most of my patients, we don't see that.
Dr. Wellner warns Amy's remaining lymph nodes could swell, so she demonstrates a stretching exercise.
You're trying to break up those,
Okay.
that scar formation.
At her most vulnerable moments, she's determined to be candid.
And it's also important to show people that you can live through it.
This is a highly survivable disease.
Yes.
For early stage, 95% plus.
She's my baby sister.
The youngest of 5 sisters, this wife and mother is not alone in her battle.
We all feel like this is our breast cancer, so we're all taking a corner of it. I just happen to be a nurse and can do the physical, but somebody else is cooking food and somebody else is taking care of Christina, and I think that's how, as a community, we need to look at it as that until we eradicate it from everybody, it really is all of ours.
11 days later, Dr. Wellner will insert the chemo portacath, and Dr. Ting will shape Amy's stomach tissue into her new, smaller breasts. He first draws a roadmap.
I'm going to mark the center of each breast, and that's going to be where we're going to put the nipple. And we want to preserve your cleavage, so we make sure that we have some breast tissue right here in the center, which we have. So we'll take off these corners, make them nice and rounded.
Moments later, in the OR, a wince of pain as the IV is inserted. Dr. Wellner comforts Amy as she recites the rosary, and soon the anesthesia puts her to sleep.
Nice deep breaths. This is Amy Boland. Ms. Boland is here for an insertion of Broviac and reconstruction of bilateral breast.
Dr. Wellner puts the port in Amy's chest so that the chemotherapy will flow safely into her veins.
You see, this is my port, okay, that I put in, and it's going down right into her heart.
Next, Amy is re-prepped for a new surgical team, and Dr. Ting will reshape her breasts.
And now that I know roughly how much we need, we can get rid of the skin that we don't need.
Amy's breasts take shape. Her take-charge attitude keeps her spirits high. 9 days later, with scarves ready, a proactive decision to cut her hair.
Cutting it off, while not easy, certainly gives me a sense of power over the cancer and getting to know the chemo.
Surrounded by her family and friends, the hair falls, and so do the tears.
It's making you look younger. Really, it's amazing.
We all try to say the right thing. Amy is resolute to be strong.
It has to come off because it's not real, and I don't want to delay the inevitable.
Cancer patient, but mother first.
It's just for my kids to understand that these are hurdles, and you jump them, and you jump them as high as you need to.
The children have been part of this from the start. John Anthony is 14.
I wouldn't say devastated, but I was like, oh my gosh, is she not die, but like, is she gonna be okay?
He and 11-year-old Christina write about their mother's cancer on Facebook.
Well, when I heard Mom had cancer, I had tons of questions, but I was more like, okay, she'll get through it. It's not that big. Well, it's big now, but it'll get better.
And, you know, we'll get through this. And Amy, every time she gets hit with a challenge, she comes out stronger.
Amy Bolin started her chemotherapy on July 6th here at the Dubin Breast Center. 8 sessions, one every other week for about 3 hours at a time. She says she faces chemo feeling fearful yet confident.
Your medicine has arrived.
It has arrived.
Amy's given 2 anti-nausea IVs, followed by the chemo. She calls it the insurance that there's no more cancer in her body.
I feel good. I'm anxious a little bit.
Amy braces for another round of what her oncologist, Dr. George Raptis, calls dose-dense therapy.
She's getting a typical type of chemotherapy for patients who have lymph node involvement, and she is going to go through 4 cycles of one type of treatment and 4 of another one afterwards.
Amy gets a handheld IV push of the highly potent chemo drug through the portacath.
This is the adriamycin, the one that we have to make sure the blood keeps coming back. That's her blood now as I pinch this off.
Letting the nurse know the drug is safely getting to the vein. A leak would be dangerous.
What does it feel like?
There's sensations, slight tingly feelings every now and then, a little loopiness.
Cytoxin is next. Amy's distraction, her music.
Love and affection, no.
Amy will also receive anti-estrogen therapy, but no radiation, because Dr. Raptis says the risk of local recurrence in her chest wall is very small.
I look at Amy, I see the faces of other women, unfortunately, who were just like her, who did not do as well because of prior therapies being less adequate. And I look at Amy and I say, this is why I do what I do.
To build her strength and fight sadness, Amy routinely power walks and retreats to her mother's house in the mountains. The next chemo session on August 3rd is not as easy. She emails me, "No singing today, a rough one. I cannot stop crying." 10 weeks after her bilateral mastectomy, her long-awaited return to work at the Hewitt School lifts her spirits.
You look great!
Trying to feel comfortable with her new look, her new self.
I bet you could pull it off.
I can, it is.
Exactly. Look at that face, so gorgeous.
You know,
How many people have cheekbones like that? Nobody.
She shows me her classroom and recalls days before, her hair coming out in the shower.
And the tears.
The tears were horrible.
Yeah.
I was actually screaming outside of the bathroom for my mother, for Mark to come in, and they couldn't hear me. And I realized again, I am not in control of this. It made me feel like I was going down the drain with the hair.
With the Komen race just 1 week away, Amy is determined to be ready. Her family's been part of the Hewitt School's award-winning team for 5 years. The irony of going from supporter to cancer patient is not lost on her.
That's what's so surreal about it, that I'm actually running for me. I would stand over and look and say, wow, wow, they're so brave and they're so strong and they're so courageous. And I will be that person who other people will be saying, she's so strong, she's so brave, and she's so courageous.
Being transparent, a journalist at heart, Amy Boland's proud to share her journey through her breast cancer, chemotherapy, and survival.
This is new life, and this is my story. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for just the ability to have a day.
Amy Boland has 3 chemotherapy treatments to go. She says part of her lesson plan this fall will be to share with her students that each day truly is a gift. Now for an update on a courageous woman we first told you about last year who's battling stage 4 breast cancer. Meredith Israel fights her disease and lives her life the same way, to the fullest. It's been a year of hope since we visited this busy Manhattan mom who was braving her chemotherapy and newly engaged to her longtime partner.
Physically, I feel great, and I never thought I'd feel great again, so knock on wood, it's a very nice feeling.
Meredith vigilantly shares her story on her blog, and last December, her doctors at Memorial Sloan Kettering got her into a clinical study for PARP inhibitor treatment at UPenn. The treatment prevents the cancer cells from repairing their DNA.
I'm so lucky I got on this drug. I'm lucky, it's sad to say I'm lucky enough my tumors were big enough that I qualified for the drug.
A drug, she says, that's given her a second chance. Her dream wedding was in May, as Meredith and Gary Thomas married with their daughter Naomi by their side.
I don't think you could wipe the smiles off of Gary's on my face. It just felt right. It was fabulous.
Feeling so good, some days she forgets she has cancer. But it's never far. Meredith is writing a journal for her 4-year-old full of a mother's memories and family traditions.
So the first is a family photo of the 5th of every month. We started this when you were around 4 months old. If I am not here, you and Daddy must continue doing this together.
For 10 months, her white blood count has been good, but she sensed something was wrong, and a scan last month revealed abnormalities.
So there's activity, as they call it, which means the cancer is getting ready to do something and that maybe the PARPs no longer can fight it.
Family time has always been a priority, and so are life lessons, even at such a young age. Meredith has talked about death to Naomi, but spares her as much as possible.
She gets it. They just get it. I mean, she'll see it in my face and just hug me.
They'll be at their 3rd Komen race, raising $60,000 so far. Meredith Israel Thomas is upbeat, but heartbreakingly realistic.
It's a chess game to me. I know it. And I think my doctors have been pretty clear. We know it's gonna be checkmate, cancer wins. But because I feel so good, it's like, how can you imagine that now?
Thank you, Dana, and we certainly wish Amy and Meredith the very best as their journeys continue. Coming up in just a moment, looking good to feel better, how taking care of how you look can help you heal.
Also, we'll check out this year's Tickled Pink fashion show, an important mix of fun and fundraising, and one of the highlights on Komen Greater New York's yearly calendar. Next.